Inquisitive Arts Museum. I can go ahead and intro him, and we were going to talk about him a little bit and his role and his journey, and then we're going to talk about how art maybe nurtures creativity and the role of visual literacy and why it matters.
Okay. Sorry, it was too traffic.
Welcome to Plein Air Easton 2025. My name's Marie Nuthall, and I am proud to have a discussion today with my friend Tim Wigan. How you doing, Tim?
Thank you very much. Good to be back.
Yes.
This year again. Yes.
Press the button until it turns green.
Yes.
Hey.
Thank you, Marie. It's good to be back here at Plein Air Easton. Sorry for the delay on the for those watching on the streaming. We apologize for that, but we're ready to go now.
Yes, we are. We are here this afternoon with Matt Moore. He is recently taken a new position at the Academy of Arts Museum. He is the Director of Education and Interpretation. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks. I'm excited.
Yeah. So tell us a little about your journey in the art world, Matt.
Oh, yeah. Gosh. I don't know how far to go back, but I'm originally from Detroit and studied to be a photographer at the College for Creative Studies in Detroit, which is a private art school similar to MICA. And then kind of traveled around a bit and ended up doing a master's degree and MFA at Georgia State University in Atlanta. And I wanted to teach. I discovered teaching while I was in Michigan and just loved being in the classroom and being with students and, you know, talking about making art and, you know, helping people, you know, be creative and think about new ways to approach making art. And so ended up, you know, just kind of, you know, looking for a full-time teaching position and ended up at Anne Arundel Community College, which is what brought me to Maryland 15 years ago, 2010. So yeah, I was at the community college for 15 years. I ran the photography program there. Was chair of the department for 3 years. Kind of did all the things, and at some point in time, you know, I think it was about 8 or 9 years ago, we moved to Easton and have been involved with the Academy quite a bit and shown at the Academy, and I have work in the collection and whatnot. And yeah, this opportunity came up, and it's an opportunity to engage my own community through art education.
Absolutely.
So it's something I'm passionate about, but that's how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this Maryland weather?
Oh, it's brutal. It's brutal. Yeah, right now especially.
Is it more? But is it more brutal than Georgia? Like you spent some time in Georgia, right?
You know what? Georgia's really hot. Not quite as humid though as what we have in the Mid-Atlantic. Yeah, so the humidity's a little bit lower.
Is there anything visually artistic about the humidity and the haze that you see, like on a daily basis? You know, mid-July through August here. It's a different color.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's funny. I'm a big fan of the desert. Actually, I've been, you know, whenever I'm traveling, I'm usually going out to the desert out in the Southwest. I just love the colors that you get out there, and that's what inspires me. And I was, we actually on this a couple of weeks ago, we were in New Mexico. We went to Abiquiu, New Mexico. I don't know if you know, but Georgia O'Keeffe lived in Abiquiu, New Mexico.
Okay.
It's like a little village that she lived in. And she came there from Lake George, where she was living in the Adirondacks with her husband, Alfred Stieglitz, great photographer. And she said that the Adirondacks in upstate New York was oppressively green. And I just love that. And I think that I'm sort of that mindset. So some people may be inspired by these colors. I'm more of a sort of like pastels, blue, or you know, blues, browns, and those kinds of colors.
Earth tones.
Earth tones, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the orangey sunsets and all that stuff. But no, it's beautiful here. It's just the humidity is rough.
What position did you are you at the Academy of Art Museum? What position is it exactly? I mean, what will you be teaching there? What kind of things will go on there?
Yeah, so I won't actually be teaching necessarily. I may jump into a workshop here or there, but the position is Director of Education and Interpretation. So it was a big leap for me to leave the classroom, actually, and sort of take an administrative function of basically running an art school. And I'll also be, doing a lot of programming, so visiting artists, workshop, lecture series, all of the things that support our exhibitions and help build community around art making here in the Midshore region is what I'm going to be doing. And it's a really exciting thing because there's so much that a person can do here, right? Whereas in academia, there's a lot of red tape, right? And so if I want to teach like a brand new course, let's say, that might take me a year to get that off the ground. And here I can kind of think it up in my office and have it on the website that day. So, so it's an exciting opportunity. But I will be basically programming and scheduling courses and trying to connect with the community to see what people want to take. What classes people are interested in and what kind of speaking events people would like to see.
And there's such a wonderful diversity of adult and child education classes at the Academy already. Where do you see places that could use more robust? Like, what do you think that you will be your target when you get going?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, you actually kind of touched on it in the question, right? Because we have a very robust adult program, and we have great youth and early childhood education stuff going on. And Minis is back. I do want to say that publicly. We have Minis starting back up in August, and so I'm excited about that.
And tell our studio audience who doesn't know what Minis are.
Oh, Minis is a preschool, where we sort of nurture creativity.
Oh, how fun!
And have the youngins in, and so it's a preschool here in Easton. In the Academy, and but between that, right, we have sort of a gap, right, and so I would like to try to be able to offer some programming that catches, more of our high school through, early, teenage, early 20s sort of zone, to make sure that we're offering courses for people, that might be in school or have a 9-to-5 and want to come in and get a class after work and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's the zone where I'm going to be sort of focusing some energy.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and likewise, like Plein Air Easton has spent, pretty much all of our 20 years trying to nurture the next generation.
Right.
That's what we call it. It's like we realize that all of this accomplishment and skill and creativity in this room right now is, people that are aging upwards, as we all are, but, where are our young people? How do we inspire them to pick up a brush and go outside?
Yeah.
So we
exactly.
have the same focus.
Yeah, exactly. It's really important too, and I do think that Talbot County in general is a little bit on the older side of the spectrum, and so, but there are a lot of people here, even if they're just coming back for summers and visiting family or whatever, that want to engage with art and take a class or get involved in some way, shape, or form. So we can offer that.
Have you worked with the youth before? Like, not the youth, but say the gap, the zone that you're trying to reach, and what have you found that stimulates them in terms of classes, or what have you seen in terms of like what really works as them for motivation or spurs them into, hey, this is something I found, I can hold on to this and do it for the rest of my life, maybe.
Yeah, sure.
For a hobby for a while anyway.
Yeah, well, that age range is right in my wheelhouse in the sense of that I was a college educator. So, and to be honest with you, what we see at the college level and from a lot of that age range is people wanting to get off of computer screens and use their hands. And so in the photo program that I ran at Anne Arundel Community College, analog photography was booming, right? And so my darkroom classes were full every semester pretty much. Whereas the digital photography classes were, a bit of a stretch, right? We had more of them because there was ultimately more people, but they weren't all like hard to get into the way the analog courses were. Mm-hmm. And I see that happening with printmaking. I see that happening with ceramics. And even right now at the Academy, our ceramics courses are full. So I think that people want to use their hands to make art and take a break from screens.
There really has to be something, there's something to be said for keeping the artisans alive too. Like, that is really interesting to me, you know what I mean? Like ceramics and printmaking and wood workshopping, you know, some of those before they get lost forever. Like, we need to keep developing craftspeople to keep those alive.
Unless you go with AI. I'm just kidding.
Is AI going to carve me a
I think AI is
statue?
going to do everything.
Or
I think it's got the whole thing. It's going to do it perfectly well,
it's
too.
just flat. It's so flat.
Well, it's funny. 3D printing had this moment in sculpture. I mean, I remember when I was the chair of the department, you know, we were like, we've got to buy a 3D printer right now. And we did, you know. But people, you know, actually still really like, you know, making things materially with their hands. And the 3D
Right.
printing never really took off the way we kind of thought it might, like 10 years ago. So I do think that sometimes people tend to get ahead of themselves a little bit, trying to offer like the thing that they think is supposed to be next, because Silicon Valley has said that might be next, right? And we're sort of like, oh, okay, let me jump on board. It doesn't always pan out that way.
Yeah, there doesn't seem. It's like there doesn't seem to be a connection. You know what I mean? Like when you're just watching a 3D printer print something that you know, created on a screen or whatever. I mean, there's still that sense of creation, but there's not humanity in that. Whereas when you're creating with your hands, like, you're actually experiencing the art.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. The most interesting thing I think I read an article in the New York Times Magazine about this gentleman who was having dinner for 8 people, and he 3D printed the whole dinner. It was pizza and that sort of thing.
Ew, how does that happen?
You know, I mean, that was.
Do you like put raw ingredients in a printer?
It was, yeah. You put the.
I don't even know how that
as you say, that was like what, 7 or 8 years ago. I read it, and it didn't take off, and I was like,
Right.
oh my gosh, we're going to be 3D printing our food. Do you? I want 2 questions, and they're very different. Do you see with people that are streaming, and you know, a lot of it in the art world has gone to like, you know, Zoom for actors and things like that in the art world. You can Zoom and get an acting job, you know, whereas you couldn't do that before, you know, really the pandemic.
Yeah.
You had to be in person. Can you, your classes that you teach, can you do this online as well? Or is it all going to be sort of in the building at the Academy Art Museum?
Or do you not see that as a component of what you're trying to accomplish?
Well, I absolutely embrace both when you know, when they are suited to the class. And we do have online classes at the Academy Art Museum, and so you know, there are some instructors that like to do that. You know, personally, when I was teaching, I did not become an educator to teach online, right? I wanted to be in the room with people. That's the sort of atmosphere that I like to create. And so I stayed away from teaching online. I mean, I did it, you know, during the pandemic and all that stuff we had to, but as soon as that was over, I went straight back to the classroom and I stayed there. We do, you know, at the college, we started offering more online classes after the pandemic, and some of that stuck. But, you know, you can't teach darkroom photography online. And so there's some classes that just does not work with, right? So it might be appropriate for like an entry-level digital photography class, you know, or a critique class. One of the classes we have online at the Academy is actually just a critique class. It's an opportunity for people to get together on Zoom and show a work of art and talk about it. And I think that's totally appropriate.
That's
and
totally
if
cool,
that's
too.
fulfilling for people, that's absolutely perfect, you know, and it saves them the trip in, and it, you know, it creates a more accessible classroom because people can come from wherever, and they may not be able to get to the Academy for everything. So I embrace both, and I embrace both types of it. You know, people say digital or analog. I'd use both. I use all of them, you know. And so as an artist, you know, I just like to expand my tool bag, and it's the same as an educator. I just like to expand my tool bag. I don't really remove things from the tool bag. I add, right?
Right.
And then I guess the other question was, and this kind of gets back to, in your years of teaching, did you ever have any students or person, maybe more than one, that you can remember? It was like, well, you know, art is not for me. So many people, well, art, you know, it's not sports, or it's not mechanics, or it's not, you know, it's not cool or whatever. Did you have any stories of people who said, this isn't for me, and then it changed them fundamentally, you know, being in one of the classes?
Yeah, I don't know if I had an experience.
Or was
with-
everybody an art student? That was
Yeah, but people were art students. Some people were taking some entry level courses as like a gen ed art class that we sort of forced them into. I think more the push and pull that would happen as a student is people would come into classes with a certain idea about what, let's say, a particular medium is, and my medium is photography, so I'll use that. But like, let's say people would come into a photo class and think, well, this is what photography is, right? It's making pretty pictures of this or that. And, my job was to, expand that idea and open their mind to the other possibilities of what photography could be. And I think that's the same for, all my professor friends also say the same about their mediums as well, right? People come into a painting class, they think, oh, I'm going to paint this. Well, actually, let's try something else, And so that's generally what education is getting people to build critical thinking skills and think about things differently than what they maybe had a preconceived notion of when they came into the classroom.
I think that's my biggest downfall.
What's that?
As far as like just embarking on art, is that my expectations for what the end result is going to be, it is like so big.
Yeah.
But, if you draw a bigger circle around the actual experience, then you will have a better experience than trying to fit into what you believe should be true.
Yeah, I mean, some of the
If that makes sense.
my favorite comments that I get from students from a photo class are generally like, "You changed my idea of what photography is."
Right,
Right. That
right.
when I hear that, I know that I've done my job. And I won't hear it from every student, but if I get it from a few, good class.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That does sound awesome.
Well, we're talking again with Matt Moore from the Academy Art Museum. He's the new, what's your position again, Matt?
Director of Education and Interpretation.
Director of Education and Interpretation. We are at Plein Air Easton in the Waterfowl Building, and we'll be here until July 20th, which is the end of the festival, the final Sunday, Small Painting Sunday. If you are watching online, you can come down. We're open most every day through.
We open at 10 a.m. every day except for
Thursday
this
the
week.
17th.
And you can find out more on our calendar online at pleinaireaston.com.
And so we will be. I think there's coffee every day. There's food and beverages and drinks and that sort of thing. So please, if you're watching online, if you're here, I think we have one or two more of these conversations scheduled. Not as many as typical in the previous years. But again, this is Plein Air Easton 2025. Runs July 11th through July 20th this year. And we would really love to see. There's great artwork that comes in every day. There's probably
It's a growing exhibit. There's more art being added every single day as the artists are producing. They're adding more to their inventory. So you have to stop in every day.
And are we taking audience questions too as well? Have we talked about that? We have some.
You want to do that after the break?
We'll do that after the break. We are again Plein Air Easton. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Please join us more with Matt Moore from Academy Art Museum. We'll be right back. Easton podcast, a version of it anyway. We are once again here in the Waterfowl Building in Easton, Maryland, at the Plein Air Easton Art Competition and Festival, running July 11th through July 20th. And please, if you are watching this, if you catch this later, stop by the Waterfowl Building all week long. As the festivities grow, you'll be able to also go across the street to Christ Church. And as we're speaking with Matt Moore, the Academy Art Museum, where the big event takes place on Friday and runs Friday through Sunday. Matt, welcome back. Thank you for talking with us today. Marie, we want to talk about visual
literacy.
You want to start off about that?
Yeah, I do want to talk about that. So we were talking a little bit during the break about visual literacy, and it didn't really occur to me, because we're all doing it all the time. We're always interpreting road signs and, things that we see. And now, in the days of AI, it is becoming increasingly important for our brains to understand what we're seeing, interpreting it correctly, or maybe even identifying whether it is true or false. So we just wanted to talk a little bit about the role of visual literacy and how that matters in an image-saturated world we live in.
Is there a definition of visual literacy?
Yeah, I don't know if there's an prescribed definition of visual literacy, but I mean, I just think about it in terms of understanding what you're looking at, and as you said, we're inundated with images everywhere we go, particularly online. But I'm sitting here and there's images all around me, and we're inundated with advertising, which is imagery that is specifically designed to manipulate you, right? Advertising is an image that is designed to manipulate you and get you to do something, right? And so I think one of the things I often talk to students about is just the fact that there's not only, the reason to take a photo class or an art class is not necessarily just to learn that particular skill, right? I mean, I teach a lot of students that are not going to be photographers. Mm-hmm. But what they also learn in those classes is visual literacy. They learn to interpret images. They learn to read images. I like to think about images in terms of the same way you might think about an essay. I mean, you have to learn to read it and interpret it and understand it. Right? And you do that not only through making images, but through the critique process, putting work on the wall and discussing it as a group, hearing how your peers interpret something that you made, and them hearing how you think about their work. That is a process of learning to read and understand imagery. And so it's visual literacy, and that's something that people take out of those classes that is a lifelong skill. So I have plenty of students that, on the first day of class, we get to know each other, and they'll say, I'm going to be a doctor. But they're in my photo, my advanced photo, digital photo class, and that's because they know that they are inundated with images, and they want to learn to, operate in that world. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is a big advantage to taking art classes, and something that people get out of art classes that they don't necessarily maybe sign up for, right away, but that is a benefit of that class. AI is another thing that's coming on now, right? And understanding the media, right? And being able to, just kind of like, you may look at an image, and I'm saying image, not photograph, right? But let's say you may look at an image and just kind of maybe a little red flag goes up, and you're sort of like, I don't know if I trust that image.
Right.
It could be that it started with a photograph, but it's had some manipulation added to it, and there's some of it might be real, some of it might be doctored. You don't really know. But what I would love for people to be able to do is just have a little red flag that goes up, and just say, I'm not going to take this fully as, wholeheartly believe everything about it, right?
Exactly. Trust your gut always.
Yeah, right. And so I think that's something that art education can provide at all levels and in all courses and in all media.
How do you think it's changing, though, Matt? I mean, we could talk about the bad parts of AI, and I get all that. Just as I'm sure people talked about the bad parts of television, back, 100 years ago or 70 years ago, 80 years ago. And television has been huge for 80 years, or how many ever years it's been. so we're not going to get away with it. And I realize we're in a growing period with AI. You know, how do you combat this, or I don't not combat? It's the wrong word. Aren't we just getting used to it?
Or
Is
how
that
do you
going on?
maintain your visual literacy?
Yeah,
It's so
I mean, you have to
new.
fight complacency, right? And I try to fight it with knowledge. But AI is not all bad. I'd never describe it as bad, but I would say it's inappropriate in certain contexts, right? If you are seeing it in the newspaper, right? I teach photojournalism, and one thing that we dig into is the fact that there are still very strict rules about the imagery that goes into newspapers. And so the reason that journalism is protected as a First Amendment right is that you're supposed to be able to trust it, right?
Right.
And it disseminates information. And so there are still very strict rules about that kind of thing. And journalists that edit images in any way are fired. That's a hard policy. And so we have to be able to trust certain sources when it comes to imagery. But yeah, I think it's on us. We have to do the homework to be able to understand the difference in those sources. If I see it on Facebook, I might not be able to trust it, right? And
Right.
so I think that that's important for us to learn.
Now, just tell me a photography question, because I kind of assumed this is true, but does every digital image kind of like have its own fingerprint of metadata that comes with it that you could like forensically look up to find out if somebody did, or is that hideable? How does that work?
It's definitely hideable. Yeah,
Oh.
it does come with metadata.
That's dangerous.
And there are some tools and software that are used to detect, image manipulation. But I think ultimately, you don't want to have to fire up some advanced software to read the newspaper.
Right.
Right. So we have to.
I guess I was thinking more in terms of like the actual newspapers. Like, how
Yeah.
could they prove that, or do they feel like they have the burden of proof of that?
Yeah, I mean, they sometimes things slip by, and I think what generally tends to happen is, very prominent photographers that have won lots of awards and work for the Associated Press have ultimately been fired because later it turned out that something was not right. And so generally that stuff comes out later, and that serves as a lesson for others. And so I have a slideshow that I give in my photojournalism class, just listing the examples, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, and it never ends well. Now, did some slip by? Probably.
Sure.
Of course, I'm thinking, yeah, probably did.
Right.
But in general, you want to be able to trust that source if it's a reputable news organization. But we're inundated with images everywhere we go: social media, phones, advertisements on the side of the bus, right?
Right.
And so we have to learn to just understand what they're doing, right? Look at the way images are being presented to you, and try to think about what is the point of that? What is that image trying to accomplish?
It just reminds me, there's a new band on Spotify. They're called the Velvet Sundown. They have over 1 million followers on Spotify, and it's an AI-generated band.
Sure.
And I just, there's going to be more of that. How do you adapt in because the world is changing in a major way?
Yeah.
How do you approach that?
I mean, some people want to run to that stuff, and that's fine. I have to curate my own life, right, and think about the bands that I want to see.
The Velvet Sundown. The Velvet
And
Sundown.
the Velvet Sundown might not be on the list.
Not gonna heart
at this
Not
moment.
gonna heart that.
I guess I probably just
Yeah.
made
So-
100 more customers for them. They'll probably love it.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's gonna go
Some
looking it
people,
up
well,
now.
that's the thing. Is some people are hearing that and they're gonna I'm gonna check that out, and that's fine. Everybody has the right to do that, and
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we hear how, again, we're at the very beginnings of this. Like, everybody who's living now is living in the very beginning of this, and it's easy to focus on, and I'm not saying that you said, hey, I like them both. There's good things about it, there's bad things about it, but how do you prepare somebody to say, hey, you really need to start looking at these images because everything's going to change. You know what I mean? And go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I first of all, I want people to look at images because they need to learn to understand images, and I think that was the same reason people needed to take art classes, 50, 60 years ago too. People needed to understand. I mean, Civil War photographs were manipulated, right? And Matthew Brady manipulated. It's a famous case of photo manipulation, right? And so people need to learn to understand how to read images regardless of AI. I think that right now I'm hearing this a lot, like everything's going to change. Okay. That's fine. Let's go there. But I got to tell you, in 1996 in my photography course, I had a professor tell me that film will be dead in 10 years.
Yeah.
He was wrong.
Right.
So I mean, I'm not going to overreact about it. I'm a process person. I love process. I think many of the people here probably love painting, and you paint because you love painting, right? And
Right.
if you can just push a button and have a machine make a painting for you, go for it. But I like painting. I like making photographs. I like being in the darkroom. I'm a process person, and so I'm not going to overreact, about some of this stuff. I think Silicon Valley would love that. If we all think, oh, it's all going to change, therefore let's blow everything up.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait.
Yeah. Well, I think you stay rooted in what you do, come full circle and resurrect all the artisans and the crafters and, the hands-on things.
Sure.
It's that firsthand experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, trades are actually making a comeback now, and all, regardless of how much the AI. Are there any trades involved with anything that you're teaching, as far as, I don't know, whether it's developing darkroom equipment or is there anything like that involved, or is it just simply an artistic endeavor?
Well, it's funny when we, some students come to photography is a great example of this. I think graphic design as well, or web design. I mean, these are artistic endeavors, but people are also coming to them because they might want to make a profession out of it. And the way I approach that educationally is I teach them to be artists. Because if I teach somebody, let's say I teach somebody to be strictly a commercial photographer, then great, they can go out and they can shoot products for Amazon, and that's fine. But if I train somebody to be an artist, they can shoot products for Amazon. They can also shoot weddings. They can also do photojournalism. They can also do editorial photography. They can do anything they want in photography because I've trained them to be a critical thinker and to be able to use photography as a tool for whatever they need to use it for. And so, when people come to me about a trade, I try to teach them to be creative with that process. And that would be the same for graphic design. I mean, one of the classes I want to offer at the Academy is graphic design for business owners, right? Because a lot of business owners need to make a logo for their business, right? And they're going to pay a designer for that. And that's great. I want them to pay a good designer for that.
Right.
I actually, for many, many years, I outsourced my website. I had a web designer that did my website. You know why? Because I want to make photographs. I don't want to be a web designer.
Right.
This guy's really great at designing websites. I'm really great at making photographs. Let's collaborate.
Exactly.
I would love to give you $500 to make my website. You know what I mean? Or $1,000, whatever it is. But some business owners might have some creative bones in their body and want to make their own logos and design their own menus, right, and all that stuff. And so I want to offer classes like, graphic design for business owners is an opportunity to be able to bring that skill into your own business and not have to outsource it. And that's fine too,
How do you, you said the magic sentence there, you said that you teach people how to be artists. What's your technique? How do you teach someone to be an artist?
Well, it generally starts with giving them prompts that they may not expect or even like, and pushing them out of their comfort zone is usually how growth happens, right? And so in my class, I have some people will come in and they say, I really like doing landscape photography. Fantastic, you're gonna get a portrait assignment, because if you don't know how to photograph people, right? You need that skill. You need to be able to talk to people. And I truly believe this. If you become a better portrait photographer, you'll do better with landscapes. because you've expanded your mindset and your way of working.
Right.
Right. And so what I do is I push people out of their comfort zones, and some people love it because it's almost like working out. You're getting stronger. And some people actually love it and become addicted to it. And once they learn that they can operate out of their comfort zone, they seek to go further. Some people, they don't. They kind of retract into their comfort zone and they fight it. And that doesn't work. It doesn't create growth.
You're increasing brain plasticity.
Exactly.
Yep.
That.
Easy for you to say.
I know. Apparently, I can't say it fast 10 times. When did you know? Did you know when you were a young kiddo that you wanted to be a photographer? When did that spark?
Let me guess.
Get lit?
When you were a young person, did you know you were a photographer? I'm going to guess that no, you did not know you wanted to be a photographer, like when you were a young person.
You're absolutely correct. I did not know that. I actually wanted to be a writer. I was really into, writing and poetry and beat generation literature. And I actually, my first year at college was at Western Michigan University, and I majored in English. And I tried to take a darkroom class, and they wouldn't let me in because I wasn't a photo major. And so I changed my major, and then they wouldn't let me in because the class was full. And so I left and went to art school. So it was not until I was in college that photography became an idea for me to pursue. I was creative, but I don't think I had any sense that photography was going to be my jam.
Gotcha. Once again, we are at the Waterfowl Building as part of Plein Air Easton 2025. Runs through July 20th. If you are watching online or if you're in the building, this exhibit changes every day. There are new paintings that come in every day, and we invite you to come down every day except for Thursday to take a look at this along with the other art that will be around town at the Christ Church and right across the street from us at the Waterfowl Building, and the Academy Art Museum also right across the street from us here at the Waterfowl Building. And we have the quick draw coming up on Saturday the 19th, and then Small Painting Sunday on July 20th will close out the festival this year. Matt, this has been great speaking with you. Do we have any rapid fire questions? We want to bring the old rapid fire back.
Tim has a rapid fire question. Ask your favorite question.
What is the best sandwich?
Wow! Oh, wow!
Didn't see that coming.
I love
did you?
it. I love that question. Wow. I don't know that I have a particular favorite sandwich. But I'll tell you what I'm feeling today.
All right, let's hear it.
I'm feeling pimento cheese sandwich today.
What?
Oh,
yeah.
That's
with toast.
What is
Yeah.
that? That's some holiday. This pimento cheese goes on. Is it New Orleans or something?
Christmas?
Is it Christmas? What's
Christmas
that holiday? Is that Christmas holiday? Is there something like that?
It's Christmas in July.
No, there's some festival that celebrates. I can't remember.
A
Marie,
pimento
what's
festival?
your rapid fire question?
What are you reading right now?
Oh, great question. Okay, I'll tell you. I don't know if I'm endorsing this, though. I'm early into this book, and I'm sort of the jury's out, right? But I got to tell you, I'm a big Blade Runner fan.
Okay.
Love the movie. And I recently picked up Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is the book that led to Blade Runner. So it's actually like kind of sci-fi, dystopian.
You're like the
type
second
of
person
thing.
this week I've run into that's a big sci-fi fan.
Yeah, I
But
think
that's the
Nick,
thing is
the
I'm
producer's
not.
one of
I'm
them.
actually not
Oh,
really
really?
into sci-fi. So it's like I'll be honest with you. The last book I read was like Emerson, and before that it was Thoreau. So now I'm going into the future, and it's just a big jump. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm loving it, but I'm gonna try.
I have to do that too. I have to I'll read something that is like nonfiction from and go complete opposite spectrum to an acupuncture manual. Like that's what I do.
I read golf books right now, so I'm more boring than both of you. Do we have any audience questions before we get going? There's a question for Matt. Matt, if you come up with one in the next couple minutes, please let us know. Matt, why don't you tell us again what you're doing at the Academy Art Museum and how
How they
can
can
get
find
in
you.
touch
Yep.
and everything about what,
Yeah, sure. So I'm Director of Education and Interpretation, and I really want to. I'm new there. I just finished my first week on the job, and so I really want to meet with people in the community and hear what classes you're interested in. I propose the graphic design for business owners, but what do you want to see? Come on over, shoot me an email. I don't think I really know my email yet, but it's on there, I think. I know our website is academyartmuseum.org, and from there, right at the top, you're going to see a tab for Learn, and under that, you can find our courses. And so I've been adding new courses all for the last few days, and so we got a bunch of cool stuff coming up in the fall. We've got some exciting bus trips coming up. We're going to go to Glenstone. We're going to go to the BMA. We're doing a studio visit with one of our artists, Piper Shepherd, and so there's some fun stuff coming up.
That sounds fun.
So
You guys are doing a great
check out the
job.
website and register. A lot of these things do have a cap, and so they'll probably fill up at some point. Come and find
The
me.
history of classes at the Academy Art Museum is just wonderful. It's been ever since I've moved here. I've from ballet for kids, which I used to see those kids running around. It's a wonderful, wonderful programs over there. So congratulations. I do
Thank
have
you.
one more question about the title, Director of Education and Interpretation.
Yeah.
What's Director of Interpretation?
So the interpretation aspect has to do with the exhibitions. So we put on great exhibitions, but we need to do some programming around understanding those exhibitions and helping people engage with them.
Oh,
Gotcha.
So it could be anything from working with docents to develop a talk, so that when people come in and they want somebody to kind of tour them through the exhibition, the docents might have some talking points. As well as just developing programming around those exhibitions, like a talk, visiting artist talk, something like that. That sort of dovetails into the curatorial side of the house.
And then this week we have on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday we have Charlotte Kasich. She's the director, right?
Yep, Charlotte's the director, and she's amazing. So I'm looking forward to see what
She'll
she
be
picks out
here.
Yeah.
And we'll live stream that also. She's going to do a fresh paint showcase where she's going to select a few images from this exhibit in this room and talk about each for about 5 minutes from a museum curator's perspective.
Yeah, but please look for those videos to be posted on Facebook and Instagram, throughout the week.
Yeah, if you can't make it in person, they'll be available online, and our full schedule online for everything that's going on during the week, and you don't want to miss it because we're gone after the 20th
We'll be gone.
for another year.
And listen, again, with those images, that is really what gets people. The week kind of builds as the paintings come in. The excitement builds, and people start seeing them online, and they start popping in. Oh, I've got to see that painting. So please, if you see it online, share them, because it really does create a really sort of interesting gathering of steam as the week goes on. Marie, tomorrow we'll be in paint. It's too late today, but we're painting Oxford today. They're painting Tillman on Monday.
There's still time to see the Oxford show. Tonight from 5 to 6:30 at the Oxford Community Center will be the exhibit and sale of the work that they painted today.
And anything that wasn't sold there, as an example, would come into here, come into the Armory, the
Indeed.
Waterfowl Building, I'm sorry,
Yep.
as the week goes on. So, again, please stop down. You want to take us out and let everybody know what the dates again and that sort of thing?
So we're open from July 11th to 20th in 2025. This is our 21st Plein Air Easton takeover of the town of Easton and Talbot County. And we have 15 incredibly talented, creative artists in town sharing their love of art with us. And we hope you come out and experience that too.
I just in case I thought I heard when you said 15. I think it's 58.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't know what I heard.
58.
But anyway, please, and all this is online at pleinaireaston.com. You can also go to the avalonfoundation.org and get there. Thank you all for coming and hanging out today and watching. And we look forward to doing it again. Thanks, Matt, very much.
Awesome.
Thanks. This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
You'll see me over there.
For sure.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you.